So you want to lose fat. You may have seen online that you need a calorie deficit to achieve fat loss. A calorie deficit means that you consume fewer calories than your body expends in a day. But how do you go about actually creating a calorie deficit? How many calories should you consume in a day, and what about doing cardio? In today's video, I will discuss how you can create a calorie deficit for losing body fat. I will also simply explain why a calorie deficit is the single most important variable for fat loss. First of all, it is important to understand that calories are a unit of measurement for energy. If you consume a 300 calorie meal, this provides your body 300 calories worth of energy. This is relevant because your body fat is basically an energy reserve. If you do not provide your body enough energy from food to fuel your daily activities, your body has to burn off its internal energy reserves in the form of fat. On the flip side, if you consume too many calories in a day, your body has more energy than it needs and it will store energy in the form of fat. So your calorie intake has a direct relationship with how much body fat you lose or gain. Now that we know the relationship between calories and fat loss, it is clear that we need to look at both your calorie intake and activity level to lose body fat. To achieve a calorie deficit, you can consume fewer calories, exercise more, or a combination of both. Usually a combination of more activity and consuming fewer calories works best. But the main variable to look into for most people is calorie intake. It may take 1 hour of intense running to burn roughly 500 calories, but you can consume those 500 calories back in a matter of 10 minutes. And assuming you already train multiple times per week, there's only so much more exercise you can do without running into recovery issues. So having tight control over your calorie intake is where most of the gain is when it comes to creating a calorie deficit for fat loss. If controlling your calorie intake is that important, how do you know how many calories you should consume? There are multiple ways you can go about this, but I will show you one simple method that you can start with. You may have seen calorie calculators online with complex formulas. Even those with the most detailed equations are not 100% accurate, so I suggest starting with a more simple calorie goal. If you take your body weight in pounds and multiply it by 10 to 12, most people will be in a moderate calorie deficit. So if we take a 175-pound person as an example, this person can consume between 1750 to 2100 calories per day. You can be logical with this guideline. If 10 calories per pound sounds very low, aim for 12 calories per pound. And if 12 calories per pound sounds high, you can aim for the lower end of the range. Give the 10 to 12 calories per pound target a try for at least 3 weeks. If you do this and you lose roughly 1% of your body weight per week, that is great. You are in a calorie deficit and well on your way to achieve your fat loss goals. If for 3 weeks in a row your body weight stays stagnant and you notice your clothes don't fit any different, you may need to change your calorie intake. Decreasing your calorie intake by roughly 10% is a good idea if you notice that you are not progressing after 3 weeks. It is also possible that in the first few months of your fat loss phase, you are making good progress, but that it eventually slows down or even stops. This is normal if we consider that the human body is adaptive. The human body cares about survival, unfortunately not about looking good on Instagram. So if you maintain a calorie deficit for a long time, your body starts expanding less energy. For instance, your spontaneous activity tends to decrease as you lose more fat, causing you to burn fewer calories in a day. I mentioned this to point out that the calorie intake you need to make progress now may be different from the calorie intake you need in 3 months to continue making fat loss progress. But this is where progress tracking comes into play. If you notice that your fat loss is slowing down substantially, you can increase your calorie deficit by either decreasing your calorie intake or increasing activity. There are obviously more nutrition variables relevant to fat loss that we haven't discussed in this video. For instance, the foods you eat are relevant because some foods are more filling than others and make it easier to maintain a calorie deficit. Also, your protein intake plays an important role because it helps with muscle maintenance and perhaps satiety as well. But the reason I focus on calories in this video is that it's the single variable that is responsible for the majority of the progress you make in a fat loss phase. You can eat very clean foods, but if your calorie intake does not put you in a calorie deficit, your body won't burn off fat. So before thinking about anything in your fat loss journey, make sure your calorie intake is controlled. Now that we have covered calorie intake, let's look into exercise. For some reason, cardio is seen as a key factor for fat loss. Even though cardio can help, I think it's important to emphasize that cardio is useful when combined with a diet that already puts you in a calorie deficit. Research shows that doing more cardio without changing your diet does very little for fat loss. This is because doing a few cardio sessions in a week by itself is not enough to create a significant calorie deficit. If 2 to 3 cardio sessions in a week are done on top of an effective nutrition approach, that's when cardio is beneficial. But for those trying to look leaner and have more muscle definition, perhaps more important than cardio is lifting weights. Multiple studies show that strength training promotes muscle maintenance more effectively than cardio while in a calorie deficit. So if the goal is to look leaner, be sure to maintain a good amount of strength training in your routine. The importance of lifting weights versus cardio is something that I will discuss in a future video. So if you're interested in that, then subscribe to the channel to stay updated. And now to sum up, you use body fat stores as fuel when you consume fewer calories than your body expends in a day, also known as a calorie deficit. To achieve a good starting point for your calorie deficit, multiply your body weight in pounds by 10 to 12. Track your progress for about 3 weeks while maintaining this calorie number and adjust the calories if needed based on your progress. Lastly, cardio is a useful tool to enhance fat loss, but it's mostly beneficial if you already have created a calorie deficit via your nutrition. And that's all for this video. I hope that it's now clear why calories are crucial for fat loss and how you can create a calorie deficit. As always, if you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments below. Leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you'd like to show your support, and I hope to see you in the next video.